Hey guys, today we are going to be looking for Native American artifacts. We're here in South Georgia. We're going to be hunting an ancient Creek Indian village. Over the years, I've found a lot of great artifacts here. A lot of big tools, mortar stones, pestles, chiseled axes, scrapers, lots of points. Of course, it's an ag field, so you do find a lot of broken points. And yeah, it's going to be fun. I kind of just wanted to go over a few things with you and try to help you become a better artifact hunter. You can find Native American artifacts literally anywhere you go. I've found them on golf courses, walking trails. I found them in creeks and lakes that I've swam in. I found them in the springs back home in Florida when I was a kid. Literally, you can look down and find them anywhere. But if you want to become super successful, you want to look in the places that Native Americans spent the most time, the village sites. How do you know you're on a village site? Well, you'll find a higher concentration of pottery and larger tools like big mortar stones, big axe heads, big pieces of rock that have been chipped off for tool making. These things are less mobile. These are the things that Native Americans wouldn't have traveled with. They would have kept them near their encampment. So if you start finding those things, you know you're onto a village site. So yeah, anyway, we're fixing to get started looking. I hope you enjoy the video, and hopefully we have some good luck. There's a couple things you should ask yourself before you begin to hunt and to find higher concentrations of Indian artifacts, and that is, where would you camp? Where would you set up your home site? You would probably be closest to the water, right? You'd try to get as close to the water as you can on the highest ground possible. So what I do is I try to find the high point of the geography that's closest to the creek or the lake or the pond or what have you, wherever the ancient water source, wherever it would have been, that's where you want to look, on the highest ground. Just another tip for you. Do you see what I see? Do ya? It's a pretty little sucker. It's got a little, almost like a clovis stem, but it's not fluted. Well, a little bit of fluted there. Kind of broken on the tip, but Interesting little find. I like it. Here's a piece of pottery I just found. You can see the concaved edge of the inside of the pot or bowl, whatever it might have been. And you can see the slight, I don't know if you can see it with the lighting, but there's a slight pattern where they used grass and reeds when they were claying the pot. Pretty cool. That piece of pottery could be as old as 10,000 years old. Like to find the whole pot. Here's a piece of china. It sits on the crest of this hill, which at one point was an Indian village camp of the Lower Creek, possibly the Yuchi tribe here in South Georgia. And this piece of shard of china looks to be possibly Colonial era. It's got the blue feathering on the edge. So, which leads me to believe at one point there was a old home site here. Probably pre-Civil War. Nice, I like it. Here's another piece of that, what I suspect to be Colonial era piece of porcelain, probably a plate. It's got the blue, again, it's got the blue feathering. So it's my best guess would be 1800, late 1700s. Pretty cool. And then right next to it, as you can see, I think I see some a chiseled edge there. Yeah, look at that. Very nice scraper, little hand scraper. You can see the worked edge, sharp as the day it was made. Really cool flint pattern there. Perfect little scraper. Could slice meat to this day. Unbelievable. All right, let's get back to looking. Do you see what I see? Do ya? I just hope it's whole. Oh man, beauty. I love to savor the moment before I pull it out of the ground. The idea that I'm the first person to touch this, probably since its maker, certainly since its maker, as far back as 10, 15,000 years ago. But here we go. Are you ready? Oh, heartbreaker. Look at that. Beautiful pinkish red. It's either a knife or a little big for a traditional arrowhead. I would say it was a knife blade or a spear point. That's an old break. Probably was broken, probably in the making of it or the usage of it. You can kind of tell by the coloring, and it's got a gloss to it that it was probably fired. Native Americans would put their flint in the fire, which would harden the stone. So pretty cool, but beautiful, beautiful piece of flint. Beautiful chiseled edge, nice stem. It's a beauty. Here at this spot, you've kind of got a high promenade here. And we're facing west, and the high hill drops off steeply down to a creek, and it was just the perfect spot for an Indian encampment. I'm assuming there was just generations after generations of Native Americans that lived and died on this land, and it's just absolutely covered in pottery and chiseled arrowheads and axe blades and scrapers. Pretty cool. Let's keep looking. Here's another shard of pottery covering this field. There's some clay mines. well, pockets of clay in the creek bed here just over to my west, which I assume is where they made their pots and fired them in the kilns. Well, they're kilns, they're campfires. Some of them will have designs on them, some of them won't. This one's got more of a smooth outside. Pretty cool. It's like the bottom half of a knife blade or a spear point. You can see that worked edge. Still very sharp. Beautiful colors. Green and kind of a tan yellow. Really, really thin walled bowl of some sort. I don't know how old it is, but certainly older than I am. Really cool. All right, let's get back to looking. Here's yet another piece of porcelain, probably an old plate or cup of some sort. Beautiful blue design. Don't know how old it is again, but certainly older than I am. So this is what we ended up with today on our exploration. Again, we were searching the ancient village site of the Lower Creek Indian tribe. We're on a big, expansive agricultural field that sits in pretty close proximity to a creek, which would have been their water supply. You can, again, you can kind of see the promenade there where the village site would have been. And I found some evidence of perhaps a colonial era homestead there as well, of course, later. This piece of china porcelain is pretty intriguing. It's got the little feathered pattern, the blue feathered pattern, and it just looks old to me. And that blue feathered pattern is sort of indicative of colonial era. We've got some other cool shards of pottery. Well, porcelain, probably old bowls. Look how thin and fragile that would have been. Really neat designs. It's got some like a foliage design. We came up with some Indian pottery. There you can kind of see the pattern, the inlaid pattern from the reeds and grass that they used as a binding agent when they made pottery. I'm assuming from the clay here in Little Creek. And we found some nice points. This is probably my favorite point of the day. Really broad, little broad knife blade. Sharp, good tip. Really hefty, heavy like a red chert flint. Here's another nice little point. This one's interesting. This one looks sort of got a little beveled stem to it there. It's really interesting. Never found one quite like that. And of course we found the broken ones. Some of them would have been broken by the plow over the last 200 years in this field. Others would have been broken in the process of being made or used. Got a nice little scraper there, sharp. You could cut red meat with that today. So all in all, it was a good morning, pretty interesting morning. Thanks for joining in.